Kyrie Irving last night after a huge game, huge first half anyway, and a huge win as Dallas walks in to Minnesota and beats the Timberwolves, and Kyrie Irving was central to it. And then he's like glad-handing everybody on the TNT set after the game, after which I get all sorts of emails. See, Mazz, you think, oh, by the way, hi, Mazz.
Hi, Mike. How are you? Good, and you?
Peachy. So I know you're used to getting my shrapnel.
Yeah.
I feel on this one I'm getting your shot. Yeah. How do you like Anthony Edwards now? Yeah, Mazz. How do you like it? Oh, what did Anthony Edwards do? Oh, don't you feel stupid? Where's Anthony Edwards now? Would you like to respond so I don't have to, please?
Yeah. First of all, let me just say that. Are you sure that was Kyrie Irving? Because that person sounded content, gracious, professional, downright friendly, like that.
Magnanimous.
Seriously, did you hear that guy? Did you hear him? Holy crap. I hope that they come back better in game 2. We'll be ready for it. Hope they get their legs under them, sounding sincere about it, wishing well on the opposition. Isn't that interesting? So I'm supposed to take it back now because Kyrie Irving had a good game against Anthony Edwards. Is that the idea?
You are allowed to respond however you care to respond to your critics, Anthony. Okay. The floor is yours.
So here's what I would say to the shrapnel that landed in your inbox last night. Here's what I would say. If you thought it was going to be bad to lose to Anthony Edwards, you better not lose to Kyrie Irving. You better not lose to Kyrie. You better not. Whoever comes out of there, you should beat. And again, I like Edwards. I like Minnesota. If it ends up being Kyrie, all that talk about Kyrie the other day that we dismissed, you know when it becomes a story? If you lose to him. If you lose to Kyrie Irving, how is that going to taste? Wow.
Do you think that's on the table?
I'd say it's unlikely, but I'll tell you what. I rule out nothing. I think the NBA right now is, and again, the Celtics are the best team in the field. That doesn't mean they're going to win it. I told you I'd take the field. If it ends up being Dallas in the final today, of course I like the Celtics' chances. So I envision them and ultimately encountering Denver in the championship round. That did not happen, but I'm not going to back off the bet. The bet is the bet. I took the field. And if Kyrie and Luka Doncic play at their ceiling, I think that Kyrie's a little scary if he's focused and he's playing basketball. Let's not forget how talented and good an offensive player he is when he wants to play.
So you say you rule nothing out. I'm sorry. I rule out Indiana and I rule out Dallas. And not to say that they're equal, but I do rule out Dallas. How are they doing it? Seriously, how are they doing it? I mean, last night maybe I can explain away that Minnesota was oddly tired. Instead of coming off that game 7 with like momentum and lift, and that carries them into the next game, like we see a lot of teams do, that we saw probably Indiana do in here the other night. Instead, they were tired, and Anthony Edwards was dead-legged. Is that what happened last night? Or is Dallas just doing it? They made deals at the deadline for, players I'm not familiar with or fully understood what they brought to the table, and they're just better than I'm giving them credit for? What is it? How's Dallas still doing it? Luka, I thought, was on one leg and sucks defensively anyway. And Kyrie Irving can't play defense because of his size, most namely, but he's never really tried. And now all of a sudden, they're making defensive plays and standing up to these teams. Like, how are they doing it?
Well, so I'll tell you, I think some of it is Minnesota's inexperience in youth. In other words, they came, like you said, most teams would ride off that high, sort of like Indiana did, came in here, really gave the Celtics a tough time, and then we'll see whether it lasts. In Minnesota's case, I think and Indiana's young too, but they might have a better coach. I think Minnesota sort of beat Denver. They beat the reigning champions. It's not like they beat the Knicks. They beat the reigning champions, and they came in and they probably took it for granted a little bit. They probably had a letdown. I'll call it basically competitive jet lag, for lack of a better description. And then on top of it,
is Luka Kyrie the best duo in the league?
I would say offensively, they might be the most clutch. Can I say that? Can I put it that way? Doncic is clutch. He's a clutch offensive player. He is. He's not afraid to shoot the ball at the end of the game. He's fearless with the ball in his hands. And Kyrie, offensively, when he's engaged, is really hard to stop. I mean, so I will say that if they have the ball at the end of the game and you have to defend them, It's a little scary. It's a little scary because they have two guys can shoot from pretty much anywhere on the floor. Now, do I think they're a perfect team? No. But look, again, the way the NBA is now, who the hell knows? I'm not picking Dallas either. I'm not telling you that. If you're asking me to pick, I'm picking Minnesota and I'm picking the Celtics to be in the final. That's what I'm picking. But I rule out nothing because I think all these teams have flaws, including the Celtics.
And of course, I'm going to talk about the other thing because I find it more interesting. I'm picking the Celtics too. When you do that, it's a short show. So I find it interesting talking about the other side. You know me well enough by now to know that. So we're going to talk up the opponent no matter who it is. I mean, not Indy. I'm not doing that. But we're going to try and talk up whoever the opponent is. Mazz has already started on Anthony Edwards. So I guess this goes back to what you were just alluding to. Do you Celtics fans want to get hit over the head with Anthony Edwards or Kyrie Irving? Pick your poison. Choose your destructor. You know, who agitates him more? You know, if we pump the tires of Kyrie Irving, does that bother Celtics fans more than pumping the tires of Anthony Edwards?
Definitely.
Does it?
Definitely.
I don't know.
Oh, yes, it does.
I would say Kyrie is like third rail. Like, you want to light a fire, you want to burn a city to the ground. It's talk about Kyrie Irving in depth.
Okay. I mean, I'm just asking because, again, I don't think like a Celtics fan would. To me, Anthony Edwards is more of a threat to you. To you, your team, your best player, whose league it is, who's next, who's in line, that whole thing. Anthony Edwards is a legitimate threat. And I've got Tatum over him, and I got the Celtics over the Wolves. But I deem him and they to be a threat. Is Kyrie really a threat to what you got going on here?
He could be. And it's also, Mike, it's just more emotional because Kyrie was traded here. He wanted to be here, and then he double-birded us on the way out the door to create another super team after telling us that he wanted to stay. And that's why it's more emotional with Kyrie and with me and Celtics fans, I believe.
And so, I mean, like, you're not the only team that felt this. I mean, he did, along the lines of the same bullcrap in Cleveland. I'm talking just sort of like team-killing, but putts. Okay, you're hardly the only team he's been a team-killing putts on. Did it to Cleveland. He did it to Brooklyn. Am I missing a stop? Did he go from Brooklyn to Dallas, or was there somewhere in between?
It was
that
Brooklyn
it?
to Dallas.
No, he went Brooklyn to Dallas.
Yeah. Okay. So
it just felt like more.
Yeah, like there was
because
a gap
he was supposed
in there.
to go to the Knicks with Durant, and the owner screwed that up, so he picked Brooklyn instead.
Whatever the case may be, he's been on called a 6-year trail of destruction. Just being an epic putts wherever he's been. But now in Dallas, as you just mentioned, Mazz, he's like found inner peace, and he's all of a sudden turned into like a good teammate, a good pro. He's like a good guy. This stuff.
I don't know if we know that.
Well, by appearances anyway. Again, I don't know what he's doing behind closed doors, but that whole scene with TNT last night, Barkley set him up for, I know you're having dinner with your family, because they talked before. Like, it was obvious they talked before. That was a setup. So he's in good with the TNT crew. They're chumming it up. He's like magnanimous, Mazz. Like, is that annoying as a Celtics fan to look at him and go, oh, now you turn the corner and turn into an actual human being? Like, does that add to it?
Oh, look, again, go ahead, Murray.
I don't think people are really even thinking about him. People will definitely be thinking about him if they were to make it to the finals. But
people aren't thinking about him? Hold on. Stu, are people not thinking about him?
People are thinking about him.
Okay.
Well, because if they ended up getting them in the finals and they lost to that team, and because of the history with Kyrie here, I mean, Barkley and those guys and a lot of national talking heads, that'd be a tough pill for a lot of Celtics fans to swallow because people are going to look at that as the funniest thing that's ever happened in sports. Because Boston still is looked at by certain members of the community as still like racist and like we're probably never going to get that stain off here. And Kyrie still I think looks at Celtics fans and Boston as a bunch of a-holes and probably still feels that way too. So yeah, there would be this comeuppance, haha, Boston got it, what they deserved. Like there'd be that whole thing, and people would be cackling if Kyrie, when he had been written off and maligned and all of that, went to Dallas and came back and beat the Celtics with a fat Luka Doncic. I think that'd be worse for the Celtics to lose to them than it would be to Minnesota. Because at least Minnesota, you can see they're a team that's up and coming. Edwards is one of the new young stars, like all of that. Like they could be, when you asked if they could be a threat, they can be a threat to what the Celtics are doing over the next few years here with this core. But for this one singular year, you can't lose to Kyrie in Dallas.
But the other thing with Kyrie and why he's so comfortable and successful in Dallas is he only answers really to Doncic. Everybody else, like, is P.J. Washington going to talk back to Kyrie Irving? No. Tim Hardaway Jr., no.
Oh, yeah,
so it's
right.
a different dynamic and setup than it was here in Boston, where you had Tatum trying to be the lead, Jaylen Brown trying to be the lead, Gordon Hayward wanting the ball more often. It's just a different setup in Dallas than it was in Boston.
Oh, you don't want to lose to Kyrie.
No, you don't.
Oh, you don't want to lose to Kyrie.
You really don't.
Losing to Minnesota's worse.
It's not. It's not.
know.
It's more personal with Dallas and Kyrie, Mike. You're wrong.
Mike, in the big picture, I understand what you're saying because the ramifications of it are bigger. Like, I get it because Edwards is sort of, he's behind the developmental
Anthony Edwards and the Wolves beat you, you've been passed and may never get back to the top. If Dallas wins, it's kind of a fluke. Like, that thing's not meant to last, is it?
But
come on.
But emotionally, it's worse.
All right, so take emotion out of it. Let's take
I
emotion
can't do that.
out of
I'm a
it.
Celtics fan. I'm at the kids' table today.
This is where you
Leave it.
This is
leave
where
that
you
to
being
the wives.
this
you
is
get all emotional.
You being an emotionless robot is where you can't understand this, Mike. Like, this is where people will lose their minds if they were to lose to this.
This is why AI technology will never work in the long run, Mike. You need emotion in this, and Kyrie's emotional to everybody. It's emotional to Celtics fans.
Most shows in the hometown would say, "Who'd you rather beat?" We're going to frame it the other way. Who's worse to lose to?
Kyrie and the Mavs.
Kyrie and the
Choose
Mavs.
your destructor.
So can I just go ahead?
Go.
I was just saying we add just one thing to it too. Okay, like we talk about facing Kyrie in the final. Do you think he would be motivated playing against the Celtics?
Right.
Okay, that should scare you. That should scare you that Kyrie would want to kick your hairy ass in the
Here's what I
finals.
think.
That's what he would want to do.
Here's what I think. I think Kyrie is small potatoes, and you should be past it. You got bigger fish to fry. You got to prove you're the best team in the league and the next dynasty or the next team, and Dallas and Kyrie's not standing in your way.
Are you over Larry Bird beating the Bucks when you were 7?
I mean, from that level, but not on like the personal level. You take it with Kyrie.
This
I don't
this
feel
would
that.
be for 80s fans. This would be like if Isaiah Thomas had beaten Larry Bird and the Celtics. We hated the Pistons in that era.
But that's not a good comp.
It's emotional,
I didn't.
and it's a great comp.
Oh, okay.
If you like that clip, check out more videos from Felger and Mazz here. For more Celtics analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.